Welcome back. I'm Fred Barnes. Continuing our candid conversation with Thomas Sowell takes us to the subject of a great deal of his best-known work, race and ethnicity. Though he's thought of as a scholar and an intellectual, it's important to note that as an African American born into poverty in the rural South, most of his observations come not from books, but personal experience. You know, your latest book is called Black Rednecks and White Liberals, and it has a theory that I'd never heard before, and I don't think anybody else had, and that is that blacks who live in the ghetto culture now, the underclass, actually have acquired, when they were in the South, a redneck culture from whites who had originally come from England and Scotland.
Absolutely. Yeah, from certain parts of the British Isles.
How'd you figure this out?
Oh, heavens, I mean, just from reading history. I mean, I guess I first started thinking of this when I read Cotton Kingdom years ago by Frederick Law Olmsted, and his descriptions of an old-fashioned Southern revival meeting, white Southerners. I thought, my God, I've seen these kinds of church services in the South and in Harlem, and in many other things over the years, and finally it all sort of gelled.
Well, how has your theory been received by, say, black intellectuals?
Oh, heavens, they keep quiet about this, as they do about most of the things I say, because they'll ride it out, and it'll be a 2-week wonder, and then they'll go back to saying what they've always said, just as if I had said nothing.
Is this black underclass redneck culture worth preserving, as some people want to?
No, it didn't work for whites. It hasn't worked for blacks, and there's very little hope that it's ever going to work for anybody.
Well, how do you get rid of it?
Well, first of all, you stop making it sacred. When the kid misuses the English language in school, you correct it. You don't say, oh, goodness, this is going to wound his self-esteem and so forth. Wound his self-esteem. Better his self-esteem should be wounded than he should go through 50 years of life permanently behind and with no hope of getting anywhere.
Has anybody challenged you on this? The scholarship there had actually disputed this, that blacks acquired this from whites?
Usually they don't dispute. In fact, it's amazing for people someone who writes as much controversial stuff as I do. I get remarkably little criticism. I get denunciations, I get name calling, and the ones who are really smart simply say nothing and pretend that I haven't said anything, and they go on.
I am American.
Why have so many so-called civil rights and black leaders rejected? I mean, you know how much they dislike you. Why?
Well, I mean, why does the mafia dislike policemen? I mean, they're making their racket harder. You know, that if people believe what I say, then of course they're not going to believe what these people say. These people have a huge investment in this. I mean, money and all the rest of it, power, the rest of it.
I think you've written that for the civil rights movement, emphasizing civil rights is the thing that will help blacks and other poor people the most. Is a distraction. It won't.
That's right. If you look at the data, you find that blacks were rising faster prior to the civil rights movement and since the civil rights movement. For all kinds of reasons. Blacks were getting more education, they're getting a better quality of education in a different part of the country and so forth.
Well, you got in just in time.
Yeah, I'm lucky as can be in that respect.
What has affirmative action achieved here and anywhere?
What it's achieved generally has been to give benefits to a group of people who are already more fortunate. Whereas if you're a black millionaire, affirmative action is great because you get to buy railroads, radio stations at a lower cost and so forth. This is not many people in the middle of the ghetto are going to be looking to go to Harvard Law School or to buy a radio station. There's no evidence whatever that people who are poor, either here or in any other country which I've studied, have actually benefited from this. It's almost all the benefits have gone to those who are already more fortunate beforehand.
You got into Harvard as a transfer student. Have you ever been a beneficiary of affirmative action, do you think? You
know, one of the many pieces of good fortune is that I was born before, I'm so old, I was born before all these programs came in. So I don't even have to worry about these things. I entered Harvard in 1955. Affirmative action started around 1970. So I don't, you know, my academic career began in 1962, which is 2 years before the Civil Rights Act of '64. And so but the younger blacks, it's a heavy weight for some of them.
Why?
They don't know, how will they know whether they were hired because they were the best person or because they were black?
What should the civil rights movement be for now?
Dissolution. they've won, declare victory, go home and start putting your efforts into something else like education, entrepreneurship, all kinds of other things that have a much bigger payoff.
Why don't they do that?
Because they're specialized. I mean, you know, how come wrestlers don't go in for violin playing? Well, they don't have those skills.
I mean, there's nothing else Jesse Jackson can do?
Well, do you think Jesse Jackson's going to become a violinist?
I don't. Al Sharpton?
Not bloody likely.
Still to come?
The only thing that will reduce poverty is wealth. And the people who create the wealth